On May 20th, 2022, a group gathered to protest and spread awareness here in Clark Park about an issue almost 2 oceans away from Philadelphia. Anakbayan is a Filipino youth organization working to educate and spread the truth about the recent election of President Bongbong Marcos in the Philippines. KT, Benito, and Ket, Anakbayan members and Filipino Americans, explain why Filipinos are so outraged at these results.
The thing with this election specifically, though, is that the president-elect is the son of a former dictator that declared martial law for over 20 years. And the vice president-elect is Sara Duterte, who is the daughter of the previous president, Rodrigo Duterte. This is important for us to really go against because neither of the previous presidents and dictators were helping the Filipino people. A lot of the decisions that they were making as presidents were more to gain political power. Their children becoming both the president and the vice president is just to perpetuate political dynasties.
The issue of the Marcos election is a divisive issue because we just don't have a consensus. We're not sharing a reality around what has happened through the Marcos family and that political dynasty. For example, we were getting pictures from some people in the Philippines of their ballots coming in the mail that were already pre-printed with Bongbong Marcos's and Sara Duterte's name.
At the Vigil for Democracy, protesters mourned the lives lost under these rulers and what this could mean for the future of the Philippines. With the Filipino-American community being quite spread out across the country, this event provided a communal space to mourn the death of democracy.
We kind of settled on doing a vigil because we thought that the community here needed a place to mourn. We basically just decided that would be the best tone to reach as many people and provide space for people to process what's going on.
That vigil was organized, and that was because we need to remember the people and to remember the fight for democracy.
For Philadelphians particularly, there's not a lot of community for Filipinos in Philadelphia, and I do think these types of protests bring together community and connects the people that may have been disconnected to the motherland.
Anakbayan Philadelphia uses a lot of art in its protests and its demonstrations, prioritizing different mediums like dance, art, and poetry. These methods of creative protest often provide more visibility and help Filipino Americans connect back to their culture.
Social media and articles being passed around, they just fall down in the algorithm, and you're like, oh, I'll just get to that later, and I won't read through, that. It'll eventually fall off with everything else that's coming to the surface. But to really present this to someone in front of their face, it really gives an imperative for them to listen.
Those are all artists that retain the culture, and that in itself is a form of activism. And for the artist himself or herself or themselves, it's also a form of healing and a portal where they can bring their narratives to the forefront.
Anakbayan Philadelphia's members have a lot of hope for the future of their organizations and the Philippines, but there is still work to be done.
What we want to achieve is, of course, liberation and genuine democracy for the Filipino people, but also to be able to create a community for Filipinos in Philly.
There was a lot of history that was recreated, particularly by media in the Philippines, saying that the Marcoses were actually really good leaders. So the protests and the research that's happening here by first gens also kind of helps counter that type of narrative.
We have to just